There's only one word that can be used to describe this show, and that's elegant.
This is not only the best anime of this season, but easily one of the most inventive and engaging series of the entire year.
This show, in my opinion, is one of the best of the season.
What I would like to focus on in this video is what exactly makes this show so enjoyable to watch.
It's an almost 20-year dream come true.
I consider it a must-watch, even for non-anime fans.
It's time for a discussion of the new Orange Magnum Opus. There are like no episodes I would consider bad. Okay, I know they're instigating me for a fucking boner at this point. I feel attacked. If you stick your cock inside one of them, will it stab you? I mean, like, that's kind of a genuine question I have.
Don't wanna be contrarian, idiot. But this anime is not very good.
Now, of course, this is all my opinion, a prospect some people may have a hard time coping with, but I'm not going to remind you every time I say something that you may not agree with. But I do understand why some people would like this show, so just give me a second and let me say my opinion before you be all mean and uppity about it. To start things off, allow me to introduce the cast of the series to you. Alexandrite, Amethyst, Antarcticite, Benitoite, Bort, Cinnabar, Diamond, Tide Pod Girl, Goshenite, Heliodor, Hymimorphite, Jade, Morganite, Neptunite, Obsidian, Peridot, Red Barrel, Rutile, Sensei Monk, Sphene, Fugly, Yellow Diamond, Zircon, and last but not least, our main character, Foz. Are you overwhelmed and don't think you could remember all those? Yeah, I agree. It's too much to keep track of, and most of them are completely pointless anyways, and merely act as background props. I didn't feel any sort of connection with most of these characters, and looking back on the list of all these guys, girls, genderless, gem people, I couldn't even remember a lot of them actually. Who are you? Who are you? The characters that are consistently important are Bort, Diamond, Rutile, Sensei Monk, and obviously Foz. Something notable to mention about the characters is that all of their spines are fucked. Their spines go into themselves, which make their butts protrude more than typical anatomy. Isn't that just sexy? Except not, and pretty goddamn stupid looking actually. This isn't something I expect everyone to be bothered by, but I found this to be exceedingly distracting. As you can see, I took the liberty of taking a screenshot every time it took me out of the show. And yeah, that's all I had to say for this section actually. And the pictures just keep coming. Keep coming. Oh wait, go back. This one is my favorite. Here is an artist's representation of what their back is doing at this exact moment. Beautiful. The elephant in the room that everyone and every single video about this show talks about ad nauseum is the fact that Land of the Lustrous is a CG show that doesn't look god awful for once. What's my take on this? Yeah, it's pretty good. Well, for the animation itself at least. The setting, on the other hand, gets very tired and boring. We got green. More green. We got some barren seafloor. Don't forget green. Snow. Columns. Pillars. And last but not least, arches! This world is mostly ocean, so all that remains is a small crest island, and the island only has some hills, maybe a mountain or two, and yes, 2 buildings. Honestly, I don't remember what the back building is there for, or if the characters ever go there, but hey, it's sure there apparently. On this little island, our overly large cast battle against an invading group of people known as Lunarians, who, as you might have guessed, are a race of mysterious and completely blank villains from the moon. However, most battles with them don't even feel impactful, and are actually solved by someone initially unrelated to the fight coming in at the last second to save the day. Allow me to demonstrate. Episode 1, two gemstones are fighting the Lunarians, but the Sensei Monk comes and destroys the enemies by literally snapping his fingers. This is our first ever encounter with the Lunarians, and it doesn't set them up well as a threat. On top of this, the fact that they're sliced through like butter and disappear into air doesn't make them particularly menacing either. Episode 1 still, Faust is attacked by Lunarians on a cliff. Cinnabar single-handedly comes out of nowhere to take them out within moments, even when they're physically the weakest of all the gems. Episode 2, Diamond fights the Lunarians. Bort comes in at the last moment to save them. Episode 5, the brother of the booby jellyfish comes to his senses at the last second to save their sister and Foss. Episode 6, the purple gemmed twins are being captured, but Bort comes at the last second from nowhere to again save the day as Sensei Monk destroys the rest of the Lunarians once again. Episode 9, the purple twins fight again. Foss comes to save the day. Episode 11, Sensei Monk makes the bad guy they were fighting for the duration of an entire episode sit like a good doggy and be tamed. In fact, the only time the Lunarians show up and it actually feels impactful or satisfying is episode 8, where Antarcticite is taken away, which then makes a direct impact on Foss. Other than this one fight, it makes all the other fights make you think,
Oh boy, this is so exciting. I wonder what off-screen character is going to come in at the last second to save the day again. Ooh-wee! I'm enthralled and engaged with this show.
when people talk about the plot of The Land of the Lustrous, they like to bring up the mystery surrounding the show. Like, who are the Lunarians? You know what? That is an excellent question, one I want answered myself. Who are they? What is their world like? Why are they doing this? What exactly are they using the gemstone people that they steal for? What is the connection between them and Sensei Monk? Why do the Lunarians only show up usually specifically 3 days between each other? And why do they only come out at night? When they're Lunarians, why do they only like sunny days and not night or rainy, cloudy days? Why only day? But nothing, absolutely nothing about them is answered in the show. And the show actually ends just when things were maybe about to start being answered. Buy the manga to possibly find out the answers to your questions, you idiots. Give us money. Yes, do the thing. This is the equivalent of the SpongeBob SquarePants episode Krusty Krab training video, where they tease the answer to the question of what is the secret formula for 11 minutes. And at the very, very end, the episode just cuts off right when we were about to find out. Except that is played as a joke. This show is that entire episode except for roughly 240 minutes instead of 11 minutes. So instead of being humorous, it's just frustrating. So that leaves us with faceless villains, pointless characters, and a boring world. At least some characterization of the main character will help save the show, right? Oh, you mean to tell me it takes half the show for things to even start rolling? And the show is a very slow burning arc? Can you blame me for finding this underwhelming and boring? I've gone so long talking about things I don't like about the show. Why don't I mention something that I did like? Well, Foss was very expressive and cute for the first half of the show, which gave me a sort of minimal enjoyment. Alright, now time to complain about nitpicks. Excuse me, but are you telling me that the tip of an unsheathed blade couldn't just completely stab through the clipboard and into Foss's face after falling like that? Episode 2 starts with an exposition dump of some world lore. Why didn't we see this at the start of episode 1? There was no particular reason for this dump to be at the start of episode 2. On top of that, this exposition was completely disconnected from the rest of the story and was directly for the audience, so if you would have really wanted this, it probably would have been more fitting to have it at the beginning. Unless I'm just insane for thinking that. After Foss gets vored by a snail and gets dissolved into it, Diamond notices that on the shell of the snail, there are shards of Foss, even explicitly stating it's Foss. But then for the rest of the episode, Diamond thinks that after the snail vored Foss, Foss became the snail. Diamond then proceeds to get projectile shit in their face, only then to later realize, oh yeah, the thing on the shell that I said was Foss, yeah, that was actually Foss. Wow!
Wow.
All the gemstone people are aware of the fact that pieces and shards of themselves are the sum of the rest of them, but somehow it took ages for them to even think of the idea that Foss was actually in the shell. And before we move on to my next point, can we just discuss for a moment how weird it is that a snail without a shell shot out projectile shit, and some even got into a main character's face? Is this not strange? Did everyone just collectively forget about this scene? Because unfortunately, I cannot. The doctor character, Rutail, is the one who puts everyone back together when they break, and they break constantly, by the way. They're undoubtedly one of the most important characters for this, because without them, everyone would essentially be stuck broken and be basically considered dead. But what if literally anything happens and Rutail breaks? Who puts them back together? Taking a quote from the Jade Gemstone, there'd be nobody to fix the doctor if they break. Why doesn't anyone else know how to fix gemstones? Why isn't the doctor teaching anyone this vital skill for all of their well-beings? There is a gemstone that comes out only in winter that can fix themselves if need be, but again, they only come out in winter. Seems like an oversight on their part and a little bit dangerous if anything happened to Rutail. Because, again, they become fucked!
特にその水袋怖いわね。どうなってんの？これは
I'm just throwing out an idea here, but you know what would have helped this story that's set in a mysterious world? A fish out of water character. In this show, a gemstone person's memories are stored within the shards of themselves, so if they lose a limb and can't get it back, then they lose some memories along with the limb. Foss eventually loses both their legs and arms, and has to get replacements, which in turn gives them new abilities but at the cost of their memories. Later on in the series, we have another character struggle to stay conscious as they had to have completely new pieces of gemstone fitted into them to be able to function. If you combine all these ideas together, you can have a character reawakening, not remembering much due to lost limbs, and thereby having to re-experience the world alongside the audience, all the while they struggle with regaining their strength. Maybe then this character also starts questioning the world they're all in, because without most of their memories, they don't have the same undying and unquestioning love for Sensei Monk, which Foss does start questioning towards the end of the show, but, you know, I want it sooner than the very last scene, you know? That love for him being what keeps everyone else from questioning him. The elements are all already in the show for this type of story. This way you could have even more gradual growth, but instead it just feels like Foss is stumbling around and falling apart over and over and over, and the show just keeps going back to square one, with Foss just barely any growth for the first half of the show. And I understand that that's the point that they're going for, but that doesn't make it good. It honestly isn't interesting or fun to watch. The fact that it's not fun to watch is also in part with the boring setting as well. Just gotta drive that point home again. I mean, I get why there are people who like this show. I really do. Foss wins empathy points with a lot of people for being an outcast that's seen as weaker. Foss is sad that they haven't or can't accomplish things that their fellow peers can accomplish, or those younger than them have already accomplished. Foss just wants to be worth something and be useful. I get it. Believe me, I understand that the same way anyone else can, because I too am a worthless sack of shit who doesn't want to feel useless. And the series actually felt like it was getting interesting midway through the series, when Foss started to develop more and undergo more of a literal transformation. Until even that interest kinda plateaued a few more episodes in. But I get it. People like seeing this weaker, more relatable character change and question the world. Plus, on top of that, the fact that the main characters are gemstone people that are immortal but can break into pieces and have to be rebuilt is also a pretty neat concept. All of this on paper sounds intriguing to me still, but I can't help but walk away from the show feeling underwhelmed and disappointed with their execution. I'm not saying this show is the worst. I'm not saying it's god-awful. I'm just saying I don't understand why so many people like the show so much. And if any one of you justifies this anime by saying, the manga explains it, or the manga's better, I swear to Christ,